Buenos dias from San Gervasi. This is the Rorschach, Georgia update from the 12th of March, 2026. Quick summary of what's going down in Georgia. Tuesday the 17th, Patriarch Ilya II passed away at the age of 94 after suffering from internal bleeding. He led the Georgian Orthodox Church for nearly 5 decades, beginning in 1977 during the Soviet period. Many people viewed him as a central figure of national identity and a unifying force during the country's transition to independence. Following the news, the government declared a national period of mourning and ordered state flags lowered to half-mast on administrative buildings across the country. Condolences came in from every political party within Georgia and from leaders across the globe, including the United States European Union. His death marks a significant shift for the nation as he remained a defining moral presence for generations of Georgians. Next up, on Thursday the 12th, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE, released a critical report on Georgia's human rights situation. 24 member states triggered the Moscow mechanism on January 29th to investigate reports of domestic backsliding, suppression of opposition and media, and the use of repressive legislation since early 2024. The OSCE created this mechanism in 1991 to investigate serious human rights abuses in member states, even without the host country's consent. This marks the 17th time the OSCE has activated it in its history. The nearly 200-page report demands the immediate repeal of laws on foreign agents and family values, alongside calls for independent investigations into election irregularities and police violence against pro-European demonstrators. Georgian government dismissed and rejected these findings, saying the report was politically motivated. Related news on Monday the 16th, Kotzebue President Mikhail Kavelashvili rejected international calls from the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly to pardon pro-European demonstrators who were imprisoned over a year ago. Kavelashvili dismissed the request, saying that these prisoners show no remorse for their actions, maintain an arrogant disposition, and remain a danger to society. Wow. Authorities denied the delegation access to these prisoners, including Sakharov Prize winner Mzia Makhlobeli, co-founder of the independent news outlets Batumalevi and Netgazeti, while the OSCE asked the government to restore political dialogue and accept responsibility for current tensions. Kavelashvili said the state will keep these individuals in custody to ensure national stability, meaning they retain power. Changing topics, on Monday the 16th, the court sentenced former Deputy Minister of Economy Romeo Mikhaotadze to 10 years in prison for corruption and money laundering. The court also banned him from public office for 2 years and ordered the state to seize his extensive assets. These include an apartment in Madrid, a house in Serovani, real estate in Mskheta, 3 luxury vehicles, gold bars, coins, and a 15% stake in the Nakhiduri power plant, which prosecutors value at 1.5 million Lari, which is about $500,000. Mikhaotadze was a close friend and associate of former Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili. He resigned shortly after Garibashvili left office in early 2024. Just last month, the court sentenced Garibashvili to 5 years for money laundering committed during his premiership. Mikhaotadze denies all charges, and his lawyer plans to appeal. In other news, Tuesday the 17th, authorities conducted a massive overnight operation across Adjara in western Georgia, arresting 72 people for links to the criminal underworld. This huge number resulted from simultaneous raids in multiple locations targeting associates of a crime boss known as Babu. Authorities also charged 5 others already in prison or abroad. Investigators used wiretaps to reveal how the groups held illegal meetings to settle financial disputes through extortion and death threats. During these criminal meetings, the suspects forced citizens to pay massive sums, with some recordings mentioning debts of up to $1 million. On Thursday the 12th, a massive landslide began tearing through the village of Kursebi in western Georgia, forcing 45 families to evacuate. The earth moved slowly at first, which allowed neighbors to wake each other up and escape before the ground swallowed their homes. While no one suffered injuries, the disaster destroyed or heavily damaged dozens of homes and buried local cemeteries and orchards across 60 hectares. Geologists remain on site to monitor the area, noting that the landslide is entering a stable phase. Displaced residents are now staying in nearby hotels while they wait for government rent assistance. Because the disaster destroyed their entire neighborhood, families are asking officials to resettle them together to keep their community intact. On Saturday the 14th, animal protection organizations organized a protest in Tbilisi after authorities failed to return sterilized stray dogs to neighborhoods they were taken from. This follows a new government pilot program that aims to vaccinate and neuter 9,000 stray dogs in the capital. While few think it's A bad initiative, activists say that many dogs simply vanished from the streets. Some animals that did return were brought back with a highly contagious and often fatal virus that attacks the lungs and nervous system. Business on Thursday, the 12th Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze issued a decree that bans most plastic bottles to reduce environmental waste. Starting 1st of July, restaurants and cafes must stop serving drinks in plastic bottles. Next year, companies will be forbidden from producing, importing, or selling beverages in plastic bottles entirely. Business leaders are pushing back, noting that this total ban on plastic bottles is almost unprecedented globally. Temrich Konia of Coca-Cola Bottlers Georgia argued that building a proper recycling system would benefit the economy more than a flat ban. Critics warn that since glass or aluminum alternatives for larger sizes are rare, popular 2-liter bottles may simply vanish from the store shelves. In business on Monday the 16th, major delivery platforms Volt, Glovo, and Bolt announced they will no longer employ couriers who don't have permanent residency rights in Georgia. This decision follows recent amendments to the law on labor migration, which sets a 0% quota for foreign citizens working as couriers, drivers, or tour guides starting on the 1st of March. Thursday, the 12th, the government dropped its plan to ban the import of cars older than 6 years. Instead, following pushback from business leaders and citizens, it is replacing the ban with a massive hike in excise tax for those vehicles, which has increased over 5-fold. However, many are unhappy with the change as the new tax makes importing older vehicles financially difficult for almost everyone. For example, you wanted to import an older car with a 1.5-liter engine, you previously had to pay 1,200 lari, which is about $400 for excise tax, but now we'll have to pay 7,000 lari, which is about $2,500. In sports, on Saturday the 14th, the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, exposed widespread cheating in Georgian rugby. Joint investigation with World Rugby, the world's global governing body, confirms that 6 national team players and 1 staff member broke anti-doping rules. Investigators found 5 specific cases where people swapped urine samples to hide illegal substances. The probe also revealed that employees at Georgia's own anti-doping agency tipped off players about upcoming tests and failed to supervise the sampling process. WADA President Witold Banka called the situation outrageous and stated that his agency has lost all confidence in Georgia's national program. While the government says they will work with the rugby union to address the issue, WADA is now expanding its investigation into other Georgian sports to see how deep the problem goes. On Wednesday, the 18th, OC Media published a comprehensive obituary detailing the complex legacy of Patriarch Ilia II. The article entitled Patriarch Ilia II, One Constant in Georgia's Modern History, explores his 48 years of leadership since 1977. It examines his role as a conservative anchor who shaped Georgian identity while navigating the shift from Soviet-ruled independence. The piece covers his immense influence on social policy, personal baptism of thousands of children, and the various internal church scandals and political tensions that emerged in his later years. Provides essential context for anyone wanting to understand the man who defined Georgia's spiritual and social landscape for nearly 5 decades. Link to the full English language article in the show notes. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Anything you want to tell us? info@rorschach.com. Nach Hamdis.